You are listening to the Slackers Method Podcast. I'm your host, September Man. And in this podcast, we talk about all things online dating, dating apps, dating tips, dating news, and more. So subscribe, because you never know what you're going to learn in each episode. Greetings, Slackers. I'm your host, September Man, and this is the Slackers Method Podcast, Episode 1. In this podcast, we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of things, minus the fluff. You don't care when Craigslist was founded or who its founders were. What you came here to learn is how to meet people off of Craigslist. And I might add safely. So how do we do that? First, let's jump into some tidbits about Craigslist personals and profile tips. Tip number 1. A good headline can take you places. Now, what do I mean by that? People like to have fun, and your headline is the first thing people see. People who use Craigslist personals use it for the reason that it's simple to use, but even better, it's free and it works. And for more on that, check out my book, The Slackers Method, a how-to guide for meeting women on Craigslist. Tip number 2. Good photos can get you even more mileage. Photos are in essence what you look like. Duh. Sharing a photo gives the advantage of allowing others to decide if they want to proceed further with you. It's a form of transparency. But I must include that a photo is not always necessary to meet others. This is something we can get into more in a future podcast. A general rule about photos and selfies is have a good, clear photo. Photos that are blurry are not appealing. Also, make sure you put out your best version of yourself if you're trying to attract someone. Everyone is shallow to a degree. We all have our preferences and other particulars we like, so while it is not necessary to have a photo in your profile, having one can work to your advantage. Before I move on to tip number 3, and this is a public service announcement directed towards men. Absolutely under no circumstances should you send a penis photo. You know, photos of your junk. While you may be inclined to do so thinking that your package is nice and women will select you based on your photo, it actually works against you and turns women off. I can't speak for all women, so for those of you out there who think differently, let your voices be known so you can be swamped with photos in your inbox. Fellas, women receive dick photos all the time. By the way, this is something you can look forward to in a future podcast.
Yeah, man, these women, they're all difficult, man. They just reject my ad. They don't even hit me up, man. Why these women gotta be so difficult?
Are you tired of struggling with meeting women on online dating apps? Are you tired of asking yourself questions like this? It's time to try something new. It's time to show women something different. Get the Slackers Method, available now. Fellas, women receive dick photos all the time, and I'm going to go into detail about this more in a future podcast. Tip number 3. Good profile writing can take you miles. Good profile writing is an art worth study. There's millions of people out there who love to read profiles after viewing your photos first. Maybe they're just browsing or actually looking for someone. You never know when you meet someone online what they're there for. People say many things, but this is a topic for further discussion in a future podcast. The main point here is your profile doesn't have to be long to be successful. I've seen ads that were short, sweet, and to the point, and guess what? They worked. So you decide how long you want your ad to be. Just understand that if it is to be long, it better be good, and it better be funny. Hint, hint. Tip number 4. When messaging a woman, message them once. They got it. The reason why I threw this tip in there is because I've read and heard from other men about their frustrations meeting women online. I've also listened to countless stories from women about their troubles meeting men online. This tip is aimed more at men since women are often swamped with responses to their ads, so when you send a message, send it once. Trust me, she got it. Don't start thinking maybe it went to her spam folder, and trying again is going to somehow get you noticed. Doing so only makes you look thirsty, which shows desperation. You want to avoid doing this. Also, you should know that due to women normally receiving huge influxes of responses to their ads, and this is across most dating sites and apps that allow men to message women. Women are always receiving messages, but on dating sites such as Bumble, women are allowed to respond first. So not all dating sites do, and we'll talk about this in a future podcast. Tip number 5, stay away from sexual topics and innuendo as long as you can. Now, this is aimed more directly at men because women complain about men always trying to get sexual with them too soon. Look, fellas, women like sex. They think about it just as often as we do. But the problem is they don't want to talk about it to everyone. Remember, in tip number 4, women are inundated with responses from all too eager men trying to get sexual in nature with her as well. You could think of them as competition. So, how do we float to the top of the stack? Simple. Come across as normal by doing the opposite. Avoid talk of sex. If sex is to be brought up, let her bring it up and it be her idea, even though it was really your idea all along. There's a way to do this, and we'll explore just how in a future podcast. Tip number 6, and this is a bonus tip just for you.
Yeah, I sent this woman a photo, and she hasn't gotten back to me yet. It's been 5 minutes. What can I do?
Well, first of all, you can be patient. Number 2, you can go talk to somebody else so that way you're not sitting around waiting on someone else. Catch my drift? Learn more at theslackersmethod.com. Your approach and attitude to everything is going to determine if you're successful or not. Know how to handle rejection. One of the best ways to deal with rejection is to understand it's going to happen from time to time, and it's all part of the process. The sooner you're able to accept this, the better off you're going to be. And while we're on this note, remember tip number 4? It's known that some men get upset and become irate after not receiving a response or receiving one where they've been rejected. There's no need to lash out and call women names. This only gives her confirmation that it was a good idea never to talk to you in the first place. So, go easy on yourself and try a more lighthearted approach, i.e., shoot your best shot and just sit back, relax, go message others, go find something to do. Be preoccupied with other things rather than sitting there waiting for a response. So, that's it for today. 5 quick tips plus a bonus tip to help you improve your game on Craigslist. But not just on Craigslist, on other dating platforms as well. You'll find out a lot of what works on Craigslist can also work on other platforms with slight modifications, which we'll explore more in future Slackers Method podcasts. You can find both my channels on YouTube at The Slackers Method and at September Man, where you can find more video content ranging from news to anything goes. Also, you can find me on social media, Pinterest, Tumblr, Instagram, Twitter, and Steemit. So subscribe, like, and share if you found this information useful and think it could be of help to others. You have been listening to the Slackers Method Podcast.